is to promote the growth of Tigres in English through analysis, discussions, interviews, and more. Welcome to the Lautimes podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to Lautimes, where we talk about Tigres in English. We have been MIA the last couple weeks. Everybody's availability has been kind of tough to coordinate, unfortunately. But we're back, and it's only fitting to be back because this week is Clasico Regio week, as we all know. We're going to look ahead to Saturday in full depth. We're going to recap last week. We'll talk about Feminine. We'll talk about a rumor that just broke on Twitter just in the last few minutes involving one of the younger players on our team and whatever else happened. So I'm Dennis. I'm tonight's host and the usual producer of this show, and I'm very happy to be joined once again by my compatriot up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You know him, you love him as Double L Nation, Edgar. How are you?
Doing good. Finally, some decent weather here in North Texas. We are not melting anymore.
But we're about to get this crazy cold front, which is wild. Like, tomorrow's going to be like 40 degrees when we wake up, which is going to be crazy. Yeah. So it's officially fall. Kind of hoping that when I go back down to Monterrey next week that it's not that cold. Like, it's a little bit warmer in the 60s for next Saturday's game against San Luis. I would love that so much. Please, weather gods, help me out here. So thanks for joining us tonight. I know that we're waiting on you guys to come into the live stream. If you're listening on podcast later on, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to the show if you haven't already on Apple and Spotify. If you're a Spotify listener, it helps us out a lot if you comment on episodes. So do that if you can. And if you're watching us live right now on YouTube or Twitter, give us a big help and subscribe to the channel or follow the Twitter page if you haven't already. Don't forget to share the stream with somebody who you think would like it. Any other fellow Tigres fans who might be watching, retweet it, share it, do what you got to do. And come join us in the chat. Every show is always better when you guys join us in the chat. So come join us. We love to read your comments. We love to talk about your comments and your takes on the show, as we always do. So, like I mentioned earlier, we were off last week. It was really hard to find a night for all of us to get together and record. And it's still pretty difficult. As you can see, it's just us two. We're hoping that maybe one or two of the other guys will join us here in a little bit. But if not, it's okay. We'll hold it down. DFW is the best anyway. So, we've got quite a bit to discuss. We'll get to the main event, a.k.a. the Clasico Regio, in just a moment, but let's go ahead and recap last week. Two big results for the boys, starting off with a road win at Pachuca, and then followed up by a really fun, exciting second half against Tijuana at home, headlined by Arcer de Luz scoring for the first time from open play in a long time, Juan Burnetta having a great game. All the things in a 2-0 win that puts the boys currently in second with 2 games to go left in this Apertura regular season. Let's briefly, Edgar, jump back to the Pachuca game before we sort of deep dive into the Tijuana game. Any thoughts about that? I mean, that game, for the boys to win at a place that they haven't won in about 11 years, I think is a big deal. Kind of gives momentum, kind of builds momentum going into this end of the season, and you can kind of see the fruit of that also back on Saturday. But what you like about that performance, in which ended up being a very interesting low-scoring effort in Pachuca?
I mean, honestly, just with the lack of results in the past, it was hard to be optimistic about it. But Tigres has been doing well. I was surprised by the result. I was expecting a draw. I think Brunetta was phenomenal. I think he stole the show. Lioness, obviously, with the other goal of the evening, doing very well. Refereeing wasn't great, and we'll probably get into that here in a second. But overall, more positives than anything negative for sure.
Well, and of course, as we know, not great that Joaquim gave the mistake that led to their goal. But the response immediately from the boys to score, looking at Lainez scoring that goal, that's a big deal. I can tell that there's been some improvement this year in the mentality, something that I think that we have talked about extensively on the show for the last like 6 months to a year of like, estos tienen huevos, okay? Like, do these guys like care? And even parts of this season, like, it was kind of a struggle during some games, some bad results earlier on. You felt like, will these guys ever learn? And I think that that sort of tide has shifted. The prime example being Brunetta. I mean, Brunetta has been unbelievable for about 3 weeks now. I think ever since we got back from this international break, he has been on fire. And his play, his more advanced role has been really good. His goal scoring obviously is big. To score that goal that he had that night was a big deal. Just really, really different as opposed to what we've seen from him before and even some of the other guys. I know we've talked about the captaincy all season as, who should be the real captain. And we've talked about Angulo. We've talked about Brunetta. I will say Brunetta has stepped up as being one of the captains. He has been a much better leader this season so far. He's definitely made improvements. And I think that there's a desire to get after it in a way that's been different. I know we haven't played the most difficult teams over the last few games. I mean, Tijuana is like a solid team that gives us trouble time to time. Playing at Pachuca is always a little bit difficult, but this has definitely been a tougher stretch of the season as opposed to a few weeks ago when we had that sort of lag of like good competition, and he has been stepping up to the plate. Now, will we see that this weekend in the biggest game of the season so far in the Clasico? Will we see that in Ligia? That remains to be seen, but I think there's a lot to take from his performance specifically, and I think that is sort of, it's shining off on some of the other guys. Like the other guys I think have stepped up as well. And like I said, there's a mentality change that I think is flipped within the team that I hope just continues and we don't see them revert back into, kind of being scared and not really putting in the effort in the big games that we saw at the end of last season and even when we saw in the America game back in August. So I want to get your take on that Tijuana game real quick, Edgar. I know you didn't watch all of it, but I do have to welcome one of our other members of our crew joining us live from Monterrey Tigres Takes, Alfred. How are you? ¿Cómo estás?
How's it going, guys? How you guys been?
No, we're good. We're good. I'm a little bit under the weather, but we're making it. How are you?
Yeah, I can tell. What are you, in bed?
Yeah. I'm chilling in bed tonight. Got the AirPods in. I don't have my mic. It's a struggle. La panza. It's not having a great time. So
You need to get yourself some chicken soup, man. Some chicken broth.
Dude, yeah, just down to banana to help with that a little bit. Hopefully I can get some improvement before tomorrow. So, my friend, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about Pachuca game from last week. Kind of talking about Brunetta being a big factor in that game. Obviously, the last few weeks. Talking about Lainez having the mentality to score that second goal immediately after conceding. Your thoughts on just that game in a place that we haven't won in 11 years to get a result?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough first half. I think it seemed like it was going to be like almost every other game away where, Tigres just kind of shuts off or, kind of feels like they played down to their rival. But the second half, they really came out strong. Brunetta really pulled off a great second half. I myself was criticizing him for lousy first half that he was having, but then, he flipped the switch, he turned it on. And it seems like, that's kind of the story for Brunetta for the whole season. Like he's something has clicked, something has switched in his mentality because he wasn't playing like this, in past seasons. I'm not saying it was the coach. I'm not saying it's the players. I think it has to do essentially, with him himself, just, taking accountability for the fact that he's supposed to be a leader for this team. He's a captain, and really just shining through because ultimately he's being put in a position that is not the one that he's accustomed to or the one that we saw him and that we brought him to play. Yet he's shown and he's shining through. as the star of the season. So obviously Linus, he's been good, throughout the season. Consistency, like always, where some games are good, some games are okay. But out of the wingers that we've had, Linus has been the most consistent all season. And just obviously, we didn't let Pachuca do anything. That's the main takeaway. The opportunities that they created were minimum. Nahuel is always going to be Nahuel, just like on Saturday, with Cholos. That guy just, it seems like he could last another 5, 6, 10 years with us and still give us, some great performances like the ones he did.
Absolutely. And I just think that, again, that resilience of the team to continue to press on throughout the season, even as some things have kind of changed formation-wise too. I mean, we've reverted from this 4-2-3-1 that we've been playing 5 back in a couple of games, like the Cruz Azul game that we went to, Alfred. So now you kind of see this 4-1-4-1 somewhat, depending on when we're in possession or not. Romulo being that anchor in front of the back line, now that Angulo's healthy, I think that our play has improved a lot since then, because, I mean, to state the obvious, that's Romulo's natural position. Like, he's been a great center back for us this season, but he has always been a true number 6, kind of a stopper, holding it down back there, and he's been really, really good, and has helped the team kind of look better with their play over the last few weeks, ever since that shift was made. I think it happened in the Cruz Azul game, where that shift finally happened when Angulo was healthy and started most of that game. Even though it was in a 5-back, he was still sitting in front of the back line. And ever since then, I think that there's been a lot of good from our play since then. It's not amazing by any means, but it's better than some of the stretches that we had at the start of the season, where it felt like we were struggling again like we did last year. One guy I want to talk about now is Chicha. His inclusion in the lineup ever since he returned from the Under-20 World Cup has been really interesting. Obviously, he's had some good performances and just some okay performances. Edgar, what do you think about just his inclusion back into the team? Obviously, we know a big reason is for youth minutes, but do you think that there's been some improvement in his game that we haven't seen in the last year or so?
Absolutely. I think if you look at his performance with the Mexico national team, he's developed a lot more confidence than what we saw under Siboldi, I suppose. I think he's doing well. I think, he's still got a long way to go, but being able to kind of incorporate him and get those youth minutes and get that bit of experience is a really positive thing to have.
Alfred, what would you like to add to that?
No, I mean, same thing. Obviously, I think if it wasn't for the youth minutes, he probably wouldn't have gotten a chance. But at the same time, grateful that he did, because he has done well. He has shown that the kid, he has talent, and that he can compete. I would even say that, he's obviously not at the level of Ociel, but at confidence level, perhaps, it's right up there, because, this kid, is obviously, he's trying to break through. He's trying to make a name for himself. So, he's always going to try to show out and prove himself on the field. And he's done that, whether it was like a great performance where he had, 2 assists, or this last, performance where, he was sacrificing himself and, just trying to recover the ball and running. Sometimes you don't see that out of players that already have tenure or have been in the league for a while, like Ociel. You kind of see them, just, lay back a little bit and let other people, recover. So it's good. It's good because it brings competition for the rest of the team.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the Tijuana game. A much more fun game, I would say. I mean, the Pachuca game, there was some good moments as well, but I think just the good vibes around that game, the Tijuana game, with the result, with the performance in the second half, and obviously the goal scorers and being at home, seeing them score at home, I think is the biggest thing there. Andre Pierre scoring for the first time, like I said, from open play, and I think a little over a year, just under a year, because he's only scored like a couple penalties ever since last fall. And then Bruneta being that driving force to set up Angel Correa's goal. Who Angel Correa came in and immediately had an assist, immediately had a goal. coming off the bench, which was a necessity considering he had a lot of yellow cards, and one more could have meant that he would have been suspended for Saturday in the Clasico. So, Alfred, I'll kick it to you first. What was the biggest takeaway that you had from the performance against Tijuana?
Honestly, I did not watch the game. I obviously watched all the highlights and try to keep up with how the game was going live. But I wasn't at a place where I could watch it. But the takeaway is obviously we're playing with a different lineup. Forced by the red card on Farfan, by the yellow card on was it Angulo? No, it was on Lainez and Swarg, right? So
Yep.
you have these key players that even Farfan, obviously, I kind of threw shit on him, the first couple of games that he showed up, but he's really taking a hold of that position. And so the fact that we're able to rotate now and include some of the bench players or some of the players that haven't been getting consistently a starting position, and then still be able to compete, still be able to show out, still be able to give a good performance. That's what matters, or that's my main takeaway. The team is strong. I think that the locker room is strong. I think Pizarro is doing a great job with the team. No matter what some of the haters, some of the naysayers may say, it's shown. I mean, we're currently second in the standings, what 1 point away from Toluca, who everybody claims to be is the greatest team of all time, currently. So it's Pizarro, he's doing what he can, and he's doing better than what a lot of people expected with what he has. Yeah, we have names, but we know that these same names, except for Correa, we're pretty much dragging, the team's name, the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I forgot to mention this with the last game. That red card that Farfan got, like what? It wasn't even worthy of that. I don't understand why. I
And
mean, I do
and the
understand why,
fact that
because our
the
league is
league didn't
corrupt.
the fact that the league didn't revert it after we obviously tried to get it reverted. I mean, that's just preposterous. They just always want to be right. They never admit that they're wrong.
Yep. Yep, it was real bad. Edgar, would you say what was the bigger moment of the game for you? Was it Andre Pierre's goal and the lift that brought into the stadium, or was it Nahuel saving the penalty to even keep that game uh, tied at 0?
It's a really good question. I think it has to be the Guiñac goal for me. Had Nahuel not saved that penalty, I think the team still had enough confidence and firepower to, get the result that we needed. But seeing Guiñac score was, I think, just, it's always special, especially now that we're closer to the end of his career.
Yeah, for him to play 68 minutes, play well. I thought his off the ball work was honestly pretty solid as well, besides the goal. And it's just nice to see him, score a goal like that. Shows that he still has class, still has quality, even at almost 40 years old. The guy's a legend, and we know this. We've talked about this. We talk about it extensively on the show that we don't disrespect Andre Pierre. And as Arnoldo always talks about, Andre Pierre is part of the reason why this show exists and why the three of us are talking about Titus. So the sentimental factor of it was there too. The pressing from Correa to win that ball back and to immediately get it off to Andre, I thought was really impressive as well. The awareness was great. And then that golazo by Correa that was set up by Brunetta, where he just basically took two guys and sent them into the ether with those fake outs. Just really impressive, and again tells you how good a form he is in right now. Brunetta specifically. Correa is not going to miss that chance ever, and it was nice to see those two link up and to have that moment where they created that magic and ultimately calm the game down at that point, because by then you could tell that Tijuana wasn't gonna really do anything at that point. Yeah, so that's those are my big thoughts about that. Any other big thoughts about that game and just the momentum that is continuing to build for this team as it ends the season?
Well, I think what's important is that we are walking into a Clasico as a team that is 11 games undefeated, and that's key. That's important. We haven't had really like a bad performance in over maybe 5 games. Because even the Cruz Azul game, or some of the games that got a little bit complicated, like they weren't bad. Like, we had our opportunities, we had our chances, we could have beat Cruz Azul, we could have won some of those games. And to be honest, out of the 5 draws that we have in the season, probably 3, if not 4, should have been won. Two
Right.
of them, where we were clearly stabbed by, the refs, and another couple where, a little bit doubtful as well. But I mean, in the end, this team is showing that, consistency. We're showing balance. We're showing, just the attitude to win and to get the results. And that is what is needed to go into a Clásico. On the other hand, Rayados, they're coming off of a loss, an ugly loss at that. And the pressure's on them because obviously they're at home. So, it just makes it better on our guys, to know that as long as they come out playing the way that they've played the last few games, we should be good. We should be A-okay. And unless, the refs stab us like they usually do, then I believe we can even come out with a win.
I love the word balance that you used there. I think that translates to just the play style right now. The balance is right, I think, in the team. It took a little bit to get to that point, and I think part of that is because of the fact that Guido is a new coach and he's trying to implement a system that works for him, and obviously with the injuries that we had at the start of the year. But now that we're kind of past that and Guido's approaching a year into coaching, and now that everybody's somewhat healthy, especially defensively, the balance is there. And like you said, that's so important going into the biggest game of the season, usually for this team, playing against our neighbors. Knowing that, like you mentioned, they have a lot of pressure on them. They spent big. Again, they brought in big name players, like they always do. And yet the momentum, I think, is on our side right now. So we're kind of already talking about Clasico. What are your, Edgar, I'll kick to you. What's your biggest key to this game? Because obviously we've talked about how good the form has been for this team, but form goes out the window in a derby.
Yeah, I think just confidence more than anything. Confidence that they can continue to do what they've been doing. Not necessarily too much tactics or too much analysis or anything, but if they can just, have everybody locked in, I think we'll be good to go. Rayados, I know they don't have the right mindset for this game right now. Coming off from a loss, they won't have Oliver Torres, who got a red card in the last game. Sergio Ramos had a couple headlines today, so we'll see how that plays into effect on the mental side for them.
And at a Clasico week too, like, you usually see, scenes like that throughout the season where players, they storm off the training grounds and they don't want to give a signature. But on a Clasico week, no, on a Clasico week, you're supposed to be, locked in and all about the support, all about, making sure that the fans are happy and making sure that they're going to show up. So, yeah, definitely their fan base is not happy, and I wouldn't want to be in their shoes either.
Well, and it also probably doesn't help that their head coach has decided to downplay the game, saying that it's just another game. I mean, I think Dominic Torrent knows better than to say that. Like, obviously, he hasn't been in the Rayados before. He hasn't been the coach of either of these teams previously, but
he undermines Mexican football. That's what happens.
For sure.
He believes, or he thinks that it's inferior to Spain and to whatever teams he came from, not realizing that the rivalry between Tigres and Rayados is just as, if not stronger, than Madrid versus Barcelona.
Yep.
Exactly. I think for me the biggest thing is, because that with Rayados, when they play us, they, over the last couple of years, love to make stuff happen off long range kicks, free kicks, corners, set pieces, all that good stuff. That's a thing that has hurt us in the past. Thankfully, we have been pretty solid at that this season so far, I would think. But that's always a big factor in these games because you know that Canales is going to want to shoot from the outside, right? Like, I would say Torres would too, but he's not playing. They're going to put a lot of numbers in the box as they do when they're in possession, and that's something that the boys have to, hold off on. Like they've got to be defensively solid, much like how they were defensively solid for the majority of the Cruz Azul game. I think that's the sort of intensity defensively that you need in order to get a result here. And then obviously, like, close them down, right? Because even if they're not in great form, even though the vibes are not great, you know that a game like this, if they get a result, it changes everything for them. The mood changes for them. And in a big way that they do that, as I've seen over the last few years, especially there at that stadium, not so much at our stadium, but especially at the BBVA, is that they love to make stuff happen off set plays. So, got to hold that down.
And in the end, you make great points. But let's say that the Rayados does come out on a great night. They have effective play off of long shots or putting people in the box. Maybe like you said, off a set piece, and they beat us. So what? Like at this moment, the way the team is, how strong the team is right now, I don't think a defeat against Rayados on Saturday would make that big of a difference on this team. I mean, quite the contrary. It might even give them that extra push that is necessary. Because let's remember that there's been seasons where we've lost the Clasico during the regular season, and then we face them off in the Liguilla, and we beat them, or we even win the championship at their home. So yes, it matters. Yes, we want to win. Yes, it would benefit greatly, but it would not be the end all, to Tigres season, because in the end, one game will not define just how great the season has been for Tigres.
Selfishly, I want us to put on a really good performance on Saturday.
We all do. Yes.
We all do. But let me finish my point. For the sole purpose of, it would be nice for Guido to have a signature win. I don't think he's had that yet in his tenure so far. Yes, he won last year's, like the one that I was at in April, but that game was chaotic. The team wasn't playing well. The red card changed everything. You had to have Sebastian Cordova make some magic happen. I don't think that's necessarily what you would call a signature win because there was just a lot of stuff in the game. And he even got kicked out too. Like he had a red card.
Yeah.
If he gets a good result, if the boys play well, man, is that more credit in the bank for him going into the Liguilla. I think he already has enough credit. I think that he needs to be given trust and confidence to lead the team for the foreseeable future. But man, it would be nice to put your foot down at their place and to be like, we're really here.
We're back.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm hoping for it. Obviously, we'll see what happens. Anything can happen in football, but that's what I'm hoping for. And I think that would be a huge bit for him to be able to get that signature win that his young coaching career has lacked so far. Any other analysis, keys to the game that you guys want to bring up before we make predictions?
I want to know, what you guys think the lineup is going to be. And we'll kick it off to Edgar. But, obviously there's players that, were sat down, and there's players that are coming back, and we've seen that Guido has played with a line of four. He's played with a line of five. What makes more sense? He's played games where, he hasn't had a striker and he's left just Correa up top. But then as of late as well, we've seen that it's worked with Gignac as his partner. So, Edgar, what do you think would be the best or the ideal lineup for this game?
I would like to see a line of four in the back. That way, we have an extra piece, in the midfield or up top. I definitely think Farfan makes his way back into the starting 11. And if it were me, I would rest Joaquin for this one.
So you would play with Angulo and Purata?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Purata hasn't seen a streak of starting games in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, he had that. He started one kind of recently, right? Out of necessity.
Did he start against Necaxa? Or was it?
He
Let me
might have.
look.
I think maybe when Joaquin has been injured, or one or the other, either Joaquin or Angulo has been, sat down. But I mean, really, Purata, he was a starter the first half of the season, but then, once Angulo came back, rotation started happening, and Joaquin as well, started, um, mixing himself into the lineup, and I think Purata has been sidelined. You think he's ready to come back and be our center back in a Clasico?
I think so. I think there's definitely like an added pressure, versus playing him against, a team like Cholos, which would have been the last game. But I think Joaquim is a bit more of a liability than he is an asset as of recent games, and that's
Yep.
the only reason why I would make that decision. Unless you plug Swarg in the back, but then I think you're risking too much in your midfield if you do that.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'm leaning that way too, Edgar. Obviously, Fatafan comes back, Aquino on the right side. And even though Purata hasn't been great, he did start that Pachuco game, and I thought was this fine. I think I'd rather have that than Joaquim. I think Joaquim has made some mistakes. One that got cut out real good in that Pachuca game, and maybe some ones that he got away with. So I think you take the risk with Purata and you slot him in there because, again, with the balance of the team being so much better now, you really don't want to have Romulo be in the center back line. Like, you want him ahead as that anchor in the midfield. That would be what I would do. How would you round out the rest of the lineup? I feel like it's pretty cut and dry, Edgar, but how would you round it out?
Okay, so you have to have Swarg in the midfield. Up top, what would I put? I'd like to see Gignac and Correa play together. The odds of that happening are pretty slim, if we're being honest. But on the wing,
Brunetta behind them.
Yeah, Brunetta behind them, and on the wings,
So
Ciel.
So you'd be sitting down Gorriarán.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Gorri has been fine the last few games. He hasn't been like world beater, but I think there's been some improvement with his game as well. The lineup last game, for those of us who already forgot, like me, and need to resort to sites like FOTMob to remember, Angulo, Joaquim, Aquino, Chewy, Bigon was in the midfield, Chicha, Gorri, Bru, Ociel, and APG. So obviously in this scenario, Chicha's not going to play, or not going to start at least. You plug in Lainez, probably, and you take out Bigon, and you probably do that Brunetta and Romulo pairing. That's what I would do because I'm with you, Edgar. I just think the space, even at his ripe old age of 40, I just think the space that both Correa and Gignac make for each other is too good to not have out there. I don't know if it's going to happen because Guido has been reluctant to throw APG out in the big games yet. I'm not saying that that's going to be a permanent thing, but I would like to see that happen, and I think that would be really good. AJ is in the chat. He's not joining us tonight. He's feeling under the weather, but he is joining us via the chat, saying APG and Correa up top, Gorri as the super sub, coming on around the 70th minute. What do you think, Alfred? Is that sort of the vibe you're thinking, or are you thinking differently?
No, I would disagree. I think we need to stack the midfield. I think we would go with Swarg, with Gorriarán, as two holding mids, having Brunetta above them. And I do want to include Gignac. So what I would do is I would sit Ociel. And then you can kind of use Correa as and Brunetta as those open play and just a lot of mobility behind Gignac. And Linus obviously is going to be also supporting a little bit in the midfield and recovering. I think we need that, for the good first half, maybe 60, 70 minutes of the game. Once Rayados, gets tired, then bring in the wingers, then, sit down Gorriarán, then start taking advantage of the open spaces. So I honestly, I think that it would benefit us more to just overstack that midfield. Not
That's a great.
let Canales do anything with the ball.
Yep. Well, especially now that he's going to be a little bit isolated, or a little bit more isolated than he probably is usually with Torres not being there. I think that's a great idea. I feel like what's going to happen is that Correa is going to play as the false nine or as the lone striker again, and we're going to get that, like very similar to what we got at the Cruz Azul game. I think we could expect a lineup that's very similar to that, and we'll see how those come in. But again, I think APG is on a decent stretch right now, and again, the space that they both create for each other between him and Correa just goes a long way. So we'll see if Dete Pizarro listens to our suggestions, as I know that he's an avid listener of the show. Even though he probably understands nothing of what we say in English. Prediction time. AJ, help us out with your prediction too, and anybody else in the chat or watching us live. Give us your predictions. Edgar.
I'm going to say 3-1. I think Correa and Morata make an appearance for sure. And third one could be Gignac, could be Linus.
All right, Alfred.
It's a tough one, but I'm going to go with 2-1. I think that we're probably going to be seeing like a very hard-fought game, 1-1, and then towards the end we get the winner.
Okay. I agree. 2-1. This game's not going to be a low-ish scoring game. Like, there will be goals. This game always has goals. So I think I'm with you. 2-1. We get a win there that we haven't had. Last time we won there was in the 23 run, wasn't it? I think that was the last time we beat them there at their stadium.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully they can make that happen. Again, some droughts.
I might be in the stadium.
Cuidado,
I might be going. I'm currently trying to find tickets. I have a contact, but he's giving me a hard time. But hopefully I'll be there supporting the team.
Well, don't hurt yourself or do anything dumb to where we can't go to the game together next weekend when I'm down there. So, oh man, AJ, I'm waiting on your prediction. I'll show it if you're still here. I'll show it if you drop it in the comments. And anybody else who wants to drop their prediction for Clasico Regio, I believe number 1. What number are we on now? Are we on 130 something or 120 something?
I'm not sure.
141. Yeesh. That's a lot of.
What is that like? 20 or 22 after the final?
Jeez.
Probably.
Already that
Something
many.
like that. Yeah.
Well, when you include all the friendly ones, and we had the Leagues Cup one a couple years ago, like it's been a thing to see these two teams match up. So.
Speaking of, we didn't have a Clasico Regio friendly this year.
We didn't. We haven't had any friendlies this year.
I thought that's what you shared. What was it that was happening in San Antonio? Isn't it a game?
No, it's a watch party for the Clasico Regio taking place.
Oh, okay.
On top of it being Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah.
Any of you guys going?
Nah. I think we are going to try to get together, us two, up here, but San Antonio is 4 hours away. I've driven a lot recently. There's AJ with his prediction: 2-1, Bruneta and Correa goals. All right, keeping up with the trend of what's been happening recently. I like it. Okay, before we kind of wind things down and talk about the women's team real briefly, let's discuss the rumor that started circulating on Twitter over the last hour. Edgar, could you inform the public of this rumor involving Osiel Herrera?
What?
Absolutely. So a semi-reliable account, All Football MX, has tweeted that a club from Portugal has their eyes on 24-year-old left winger Osiel Herrera. Currently at Tigres, he has 10 GA in 23 matches played this season. And they are citing TUDN as their source.
Well, what do we think about that? Would that be a good move for both the club and player? Is it worth letting him go now? What's the vibe?
I would. Obviously, he's a great player, great prospect for the future. But I do think that he would benefit a lot from being exported, playing in Europe. And ultimately, he's not he's not irreplaceable at Tigres. Yes, he's important. Yes, we've gotten, we've learned to like the guy and to celebrate his goals and his unique style of play and his technique. But there are other players out there as well that could fill his spot. So if there's money involved and we can use that money to go out and get some very good foreigners, I wouldn't mind.
Edgar?
Yeah, I think, just citing the Portuguese league, I think that's a very good place for him to start his career in Europe, should it happen. They didn't give us any teams, so, there's no Porto, no Benfica, but, I mean, honestly, even if he joins a mid-table team, I think he could consolidate himself very well, and I do think that most of those teams would be able to give us a good amount of cash for him.
I would be stunned if it's one of the big three, if it's Benfica, Porto, or Sporting. But Sporting,
the thing is, I don't think if it's not one of those big three, I don't think we get a lot of money. It's not like Portugal is a sea of cash.
Right, exactly. So I'm curious to know if it is one of those big three. I'm really curious to know if it is Sporting, because Sporting has looked at this league for talent recently. Maxi Araujo being the biggest example, joining from Toluca, going over there last year, and he's had a pretty solid reign in Portugal. So maybe that's a team that looks at him. Who knows? I think it would be good for him. Obviously, I think he needs to develop. And like you mentioned, Edgar, Portugal is a really solid league for that to happen. Of the leagues in Europe, you think about the Dutch league being a really solid development spot. You think about Portugal, depending on the team, being a really solid development spot. I would like that for him, and hopefully, we get some pretty good finances out of it, as you guys have mentioned. But I wonder when that would happen too. Like if that's something that whatever club or clubs are trying to make happen in January, is that something that happens in the summer? And I wonder if Ociel takes that opportunity, knowing that it's a World Cup year. I'm not saying that he's necessarily close to making the World Cup team, but maybe he sees this as an opportunity to jump ship, go to Europe, maybe string off a good run of form, and then maybe make the roster somehow. Because, I mean, let's be real, the roster for the World Cup is not going to be that good anyway. So I don't think it would hurt to have him on there if he ends up having a good spell in Europe. So I think that's really interesting. The timing of it is really interesting, considering the fact that June is 8 months away. So, and maybe that's something that he wants to be a part of, is part of that World Cup team. So let's see what happens. We'll update as we hear more on that rumor. But again, that rumor just broke over the last hour or so. So we'll see what happens there. AJ saying he's an important player, but could use the funds to fill the major holes in the squad. And I think you said it best, my friend, there, because there's still some improvements that could be made within this team, specifically on the left side of the field. Ironically, like left winger is a position that we've talked about over the last few months of being a spot that we can improve.
And
left back,
right
left
back.
wing back, yeah, and right back, exactly. So we'll see what happens. I think that's a really interesting one to keep eye of going into the winter window, because again, I think the timing of it is really important. Does he really think that he has a good shot to make the World Cup roster? And would it benefit him to leave Liga MX and go play in Europe in order to make that? Who knows? We'll see what happens there. Is that it for the men's side? I feel like that's everything. Do we know the youth minutes count? I haven't seen the league post the tracker yet this week.
I think we're like 250 minutes, something like that, away.
AJ saying benefits the club and player. Absolutely. Could not agree more. But we have Chicha's minutes from the World Cup, I presume. So I think we're technically in the clear, right?
Yeah, I don't believe those have been added yet.
Okay. Those are probably coming in later. Oh, here we go. Thank you, AJ. Talking about the Portuguese league. I totally forgot about these two. Boa Vista or Braga could bring decent money. That is true. Braga is a really interesting team. Some of the product or some of the talent that's been put out by Braga recently, specifically, I think has been really interesting. Boa Vista too, but I think Braga, they're a team that has played, I think they played Champions League not too long ago, but they've been a Europa League staple for a minute. And that's a good competition for OCL to be a part of, is to play in the Europa League, play Thursday nights, get good European experience that way. That'd be really interesting. So good shots there, AJ, our Portuguese football insider, AJ Pena, as we all know. Okay, last couple of things real quick. Femenil is back this weekend with their last game of the season on Sunday. Late afternoon, early evening against Cruz Azul at a 4:45 kickoff that Edgar and I were kind of confused about before we clicked record.
Wow.
The girls are, one game away from starting their Liguilla journey, and obviously a win wouldn't hurt. I'm curious to see what sort of rotation happens in that game, because I think there's still a matter of youth minutes that still need to get filled for them as well. But based on how the team is...
And then there's also some national team players that have gone out and played, are probably coming back tired, might get some rest.
Yep.
Cruz Azul has never been that big of a competition on the feminine side.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Leah Farmer has gone with the national team and has scored. Greta has played recently. Ferral. Jennifer is out with the Brazilian team, something that I know that she hasn't been on in a little bit. Obviously, Jenny Hermoso is out with the Spain team. Yep, Bombi as well, who's had a really strong... Ordonez, they both had really strong national team camps. So lot to look out for there, and I expect some rotation before the Liguilla journey kicks off for them. The expectations, I believe, now for the girls is championship or bust, as it always is. But I think with the way that they've been playing, to have gotten a signature win this season against America a few weeks ago, I think it's really important for this squad to win a championship this season. Thoughts going into that Cruz Azul game?
Oh, yeah, same thing. I mean, yeah, I was just gonna echo, off of what you're saying. I mean, in the end, we're gonna see rotation. But the team is already in Liguilla. The team is already thinking about Liguilla, and it's not that it's championship or bust, but this season definitely feels like it's an easier run for that championship. I feel like in previous seasons, America was stronger, Rayados was stronger, Pachuca was stronger. So if at any moment, it came at a good moment, that these teams have kind of dropped in form a little bit, because our team is showing up strong, and I think that this is our chance to get another championship again.
Edgar, additional thoughts?
Nope, you nailed it.
Nice. Yeah, and that's also, it's important to... Last thing I'll say, it's important for this team to start off the post Ovalle era on a really high note. Obviously, we love Jackie, and she was a huge part of the team. But to prove that this team still...
Does that NWSL do they allow the same thing as the MLS? I'm sorry, as the MLS with the with Son, that they're letting him go off to Milan? Can they?
Nombre.
I mean, can they give us back the MAGA just for the run?
Just for one? Yeah, that's too. But I think Fabrizio Romano actually said that that's not happening. By the way, I would be shocked if Son ends up leaving for Europe when he literally just came from Europe and is doing fine here. So I know it's for fitness, but like I said, to get a championship and to prove that this team is still the biggest women's side in the country, despite losing the most important and the most recognized player in the club's short history, I think that would go a long way. And to be back in Champions Cup next season would be huge, because this team did a good job performing in that. Obviously made the final of it last season or back a few months ago, and it'd be nice for the girls to get that international exposure again.
Yep.
All right. Do we have a from the vault moment from either of you two, from the vault experts?
Ooh, I don't think I
I
have
am
any.
sorry, I don't. I think the only from the vault moment that I can think of right now that would make sense and is relevant is Pizarro's legendary shirt saying "La concha de su madre, todos los rayados." That's the message for this week.
Facts. Dang it, now I want a concha, even though my stomach is bothering me. A concha sounds really nice.
Oh my god!
I've been craving some variation of flan and croissants, and now conchas all week. So thanks, appreciate it.
You got a sweet tooth. You got a sweet tooth.
I know I do. Oh, Threedker! I was wondering where you were.
That's a
Him
good
saying Flo's goal against Rayados. What year was that? Was that 22
21.
or 21? Probably 21.
I'm thinking. Oh no, 22. Yes, 22, because he left in 23.
Correct.
Yeah, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good memory. So crazy that he made the national team again. By the way, for France. No, I don't think anybody would have thought that.
Insane.
So.
No, not crazy, bro. Like he's crazy talented, and
Oh, for
wish we
sure.
would have kept him for longer time. But damn, Coca.
Yeah. Well, in the front office too, because obviously they did not handle his departure, I don't think, the smoothest. But that's just me. Okay, last bit, real quick. If you have not looked at the Tigre Tienda recently, friends who are watching and listening, there are 2 new items that I think a lot of you would get a kick out of. Alfred owns one of them. Arnoldo owns the other. One of them is a cowboy hat that has the U on it, and the other one is a big old beach bucket hat that Arnoldo got, and the bottom of it is like blue. It has the logo like all over it. It's pretty awesome. If you want to stock up on summer gear before next summer, maybe that beach hat is your go-to. I know Alfred likes that hat because he wore it when we went to the game the other day, and then walked over to the country festival. Yeah, right over at Sultanes Stadium.
Serves double purpose.
So funny. All right, boys, are we good? Any other bits to discuss?
I think that's everything we got.
Hopefully all of you who are watching and listening have a place to watch the game on Saturday. I do want to say, speaking of the game on Saturday, the game will be televised on Univision and TUDN because Rayados has the home rights, obviously. But also, if you want to hear it in English, it is on Paramount Plus this week, and I think CBS Sports Network, if I remember correctly. It's part of that deal that they reached with the league to broadcast some games, and that's one of them. So if you want to check out the game that way, by all means. I know that we had some struggles recently trying to find the game somewhere, especially that Pachuca game. Shout out YouTube TV for not renewing their deal with Univision and TUDN because that's been a struggle recently, not gonna lie. Threaker saying also the third kid is coming soon. Yes, we've talked about that recently as well. There's been
Which one? The black one with green?
Yes, the Mundial.
I don't like it. I don't
hate it.
I don't hate it. Yeah, it's not like the best third kit we've ever had, but I like that color combination. I also have a bias towards it.
It kind of looks like a goalkeeper kit. Not gonna lie. So obviously, we'd see. It feels like it's colors that we've seen on Nahuel before. So maybe I get it with a Nahuel number. Kind of like what I did with the last green shirt that came out for Earth Day. I went with Nahuel's number. But yeah, like I wouldn't wear it like on game day.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know when that's supposed to come out. Sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
Usually, like first or second week of December.
Yeah, or maybe start of the year.
I put it in the same category though as the Volcan jersey. Like
which I just got the red one. Yeah, I just went and picked it up for 500 pesos.
And that's what I was going to get at. It's like
at the outlet.
have,
Eso.
but not for full price.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
the-
that's the thing. Some of these jerseys, some of these extra, clothing that are coming out, it just kind of feels like, okay, yes, I'm a Tigres fan, but I'm not gonna go out and spend 2,000, 3,000 pesos every time a shirt comes out. $100 each. So maybe some of these we wait off a little bit. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some stock a year from now, and we can get them off of cheap.
That's how I feel about the white one. I haven't gotten the white one that we were wearing this year yet, but I'm waiting for the price to finally go down on those, and I think it's about to, since that black and green one is supposed to be released soon. Dreaker saying the Volcan jersey is 500 pesos on the website as well, on the Tigre Tienda website. Did you go to the Tigre Tienda outlet or did you go to the Adidas outlet?
No, actually, I went to the actual Tigre Tienda. Yeah, now that I think about it, that's where I found it. And the actual Tigre
Which
Tienda
one?
was 500 pesos.
The one at the
The one
stadium?
in Paseo La Fe.
Okay.
Paseo La Fe.
Gotcha.
Yep. Nice.
Gotcha. Well, there you go.
Right.
I
Yeah.
picked this one up too. Look at that.
Nice.
Nice. I like
It's
that.
a nice winter cap.
Oh, it's a snapback too. Heck yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's like corduroy. I don't know how you
Yeah.
call this, but
Yeah.
it's nice.
That looks good. Looks very good. Thank you, Threeger, for telling us about La Promoción of this jersey. So much appreciated. Maybe go check out Tigre Tienda before you fall asleep tonight and check out any deals that the club
Get your
has on
holiday
right now.
shopping done now.
Yeah,
Make
exactly.
Make some purchases you'll regret tomorrow.
Exactly. Ponte a la cuenta. Put it on the list of the receipts that we still need to. That needs to be like one of the first things we do when we start recording next year, like next calendar year. Is that on that first episode we need to review all the money we spent on this team in 2025. So hope you kept your receipts, brother. That's all I gotta say. All right, let's skedaddle out of here. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Big surge of people watching live at the end. Thank you guys for joining us on the live stream. And again, if you're watching on YouTube later, thanks for joining us, or on Twitter. And if you're listening on podcast later, it means a lot. Don't forget to follow us wherever you are. If you're watching the screen right now, you can check out the handles on the ticker below. You can also check out the description on podcast or on YouTube. Follow the three of us on socials. Our handles are on the screen, and they're also in the show notes in the description as well. It would mean a lot for you to help us out and to help get this podcast, this show out to more people who love Tigres in English. We'll be back hopefully next week. Hopefully more of the crew will be back next week as we'll recap this Clasico Regio, and we'll look ahead to the last game of the season against San Luis a week from Saturday at home. And we'll hopefully talk about the Liguilla matchup for the girls. Until next time, arriba la U, y'all be good. Enjoy the game on Saturday. And Edgar and Alfred, thank you guys for joining me.
A la Vega, la pandilla.